The exhibit 4, which I showed earlier, you sent that to the Kirks and um, said that that was an order that they needed to follow. Isn't that correct?
I sent that to Sandra from my phone. She was the only one that had received that, and I'm not quite sure what is mean by a forged document.
Did you make the document?
I did or make the original document off of a document that was made for my older children because I did not have finances to file a court case.
So you've just admitted that you made a document with a judge's signature that the judge didn't sign.
No, ma'am. I made the SAPSER on my own, and if the document that was sent to Stephen had something from the other children's document, that would have been that. I did not use that same document with any police officers. I don't understand a court order. It wasn't. It was a SAPSER.
A SAPSER can be a court order. I'm trying to understand how a petition got a judge's signature on it that was sent
Probably the wrong document was, I'm sorry.
Oh, it wasn't a wrong document. It's a cut and paste document at best. Thank you. All right, Ms. Flash, please unmute yourself and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Leak, you may proceed.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Mary Glocka.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name the entire time.
It happens.
It happens to me too. So for the opposite reason. Okay. So I just have a couple questions for you. In your affidavit, you state that everything that returned home to you in 2018 and that she remained in your care until 2021, but that's not accurate. Isn't that true?
So came home to me when the rest of the girls were returned back from CPS. We all lived in Coppers Cove together. She left with Steve on a what was 2-week vacation. I think the dates might have been mixed up in there, but at the end of 2020, and I retrieved her in 2021. I've shown pictures of her room and everything there.
But in 2021, she was in kindergarten in New York. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. That's when I had to go and pick her up from New York and bring her back to Texas.
But that didn't occur until May of 2022. Isn't that correct?
I will have to look.
No, ma'am, you don't get to refer to notes when you testify.
Okay. I'm sorry. All the dates are all over the place, but yes, she was home in 2022. So can I go back over that really quick?
No, ma'am, you wait for a question. You don't get to volunteer information. You just answer questions, please.
Okay.
Am I muted? Okay, good. No. It says it was muted, but then I don't think it was. Okay. And in June of 2023, you knew that it was, well, I guess in May of 2023, you gave back to Mr. Kirk. Isn't that correct?
He was granted a summer visit with her after a year and a half of doing visits with supervision, yes.
But
wait, who granted him a summer visit?
So I allowed him to take her for that period of time, yes.
Okay, not a court. That was
not a court order. No, ma'am.
All right.
And you took her in May of 2022, isn't that correct?
She returned home, yes.
Okay. And for the summer of 2022, you actually allowed Mr. Kirk to have her for that entire summer after the school year was completed. Isn't that correct?
That's absolutely incorrect. She was home with me and my other 2 daughters.
And you allowed Mr. Kirk to have weekend periods of possession with the child during the 2022 to 23 school year. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. After she was home and stable, she came home quite emotionally traumatized. Then I
That's not
started
what
to allow.
objection non-responsive.
Sustained.
Did you allow him to have this every weekend with her during the 2022 to 2023 school year?
No, not every weekend. It would have been maybe twice a month, and I can show documentation of that.
Okay. And did you bring that today?
I did not, but I can.
And in your affidavit, you allege that CPS removed the children from your home due to abuse allegations by your deceased husband. But if you review the CPS records, that's actually not correct. Isn't that true?
There's a very long story that surrounds CPS. If we want to get into that, we can. But to me, it seems like 6 years ago.
Just answer the questions again. Just please.
Okay, it was not due to allegations. It started because of abuse from my husband that was deceased to my two older children.
The reason that the children, the reason that all three children were removed from your care had nothing to do with any physical abuse allegations by your ex-husband. Isn't that correct?
That's incorrect. So the reason they were removed, is that what you said? Can you state that again?
From the CPS case that occurred in 2017, all three children were removed from your care, and you allege that that was because of physical abuse allegations by your deceased husband. That's not actually true.
I'm sorry. No, ma'am. The CPS case began because of that. They were removed because I was dealing with severe depression after going through that while being in doctorate school and just having a child.
In that CPS case, you ended up losing conservatorship of your two older children for a period of time. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The witness admitted that she created a document with a judge's signature that she had copied from a previous case involving her older children. She sent this document to others, claiming it was a valid court order. The court clarified that this was not a legitimate order and cautioned that creating such documents could carry potential criminal liability.
And you allege that Mr. Kirk refused to drug test in that CPS case, but a review of those CPS records will reveal that he actually did drug test when CPS asked him to. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am. He did drug tests, but which after he left to Houston, and the CPS consistently tried to...
Objection non-responsive.
Sustained.
Okay.
This is okay. You listen to the question, but I'm going to wait. We've already said CPS 6 years ago. That's not going to determine this jurisdictional issue. So we stop it. We don't need to go there. And that, Ms. Blankenship, I'm going to say the same thing to you if you get back there. I mean, I want to know, this is about when the lawsuits were filed in the kid's home state. This is not about the merits. The merits will be taken up by whichever court has jurisdiction.
Understood, Your Honor.
Miss, you state in your affidavit that he absconded and kidnapped Lila in August of 2023, but that isn't correct, right? He left with the child in June of 2023.
Late June to early July. Yes, that date is incorrect.
The Exhibit 4, which I showed earlier, you sent that to the Kirks and said that that was an order that they needed to follow. Isn't that correct?
I sent that to Sandra from my phone. She was the only one that had received that, and I'm not quite sure what is meant by a forged document.
Did you make the document?
I did or make the original document off of a document that was made for my older children because I did not have finances to file a court case.
So you've just admitted that you made a document with a judge's signature that the judge didn't sign.
No, ma'am. I made the SAPSR on my own, and if the document that was sent to Stephen had something from the other children's document, that would have been that. I did not use that same document with any police officers. I don't understand a court order. It wasn't. It was a SAPSR.
A SAPSR can be a court order. I'm trying to understand how a petition got a judge's signature on it that was sent
Probably the wrong document was, I'm sorry.
Oh, it wasn't a wrong document. It's a cut and paste document at best.
It was sent to his phone from my phone, and I did not make that into a forged document.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 4. Are you suggesting that this document was a document that was actually used in your other two children's case?
So I used the template from another document that was used in my other children's case.
And what was the purpose of creating this template?
To file with the court.
So, but you sent it to the Kirks and along with messages saying that there's this court order and you're going to enforce it and they're going to get kidnapping charges. Isn't that correct?
This is the document that was sent to them, correct. He was aware there was a SAPSR filed.
Can you explain how that SAPSR document got a judge's signature on it?
I can't explain that, Your Honor, but as I look at it, it seems as though the document that I was creating had copy and pasted to that document, and I sent the wrong one to Sandra. It's the same SAPSR that was filed in the state of Texas.
Okay, well,
I do understand how that works.
I'm going to stop you because I think there is a crime for creating government documents or messing with, but I'll leave it at that. And so
I understand.
I will just caution you that I think there could be some potential criminal liability about that.
I understand.
I'll pass.
Ms. Blankenship.
Okay. I'm going to try to limit these questions to address the jurisdictional issue. Mary, regarding the original SAPSR that was filed in 2017, there's been some testimony kind of questioning why there was no action taken, like between 2017, 2019 to late last year when you hired us. Can you just briefly explain why that was?
Sure. So in 2015, my husband passed in an extreme circumstance, and I was raising two children that were deeply grieving, as well as myself, and I was also in doctorate school. I had just had a child, and coming out of that, I was raising the children on my own, and I did not have the finances to go through a court case at that time. So I filed a SAPSR on my own, knowing that I could possibly file on my own. And from then on, I did not have the resources to actually go through with the case. And Stephen Kirk and I seemed to be getting along. And so at that time, it was not urgent.
Okay. And so you said Lila was born in 2015. You were in a relationship with Mr. Kirk at that time, but he is not listed on the birth certificate, correct?
Correct.
And so was that the reason you were filing the SAPSR, to try to establish some kind of paternity?
Yes. So I filed the SAPSR to try to establish paternity through the state district attorney so that he could possibly pay child support. And we tried to serve him, I think, over 9 times, and he refused service.
Okay. So between the time you filed the SAPSR to early 2019, the CPS, the 6 months where they were not in your care, but after that, Lila lived primarily with you.
Yes.
Lila primarily lived with her mother since 2019. During this time, Mr. Kirk had only limited, supervised visitation, not full custody. Contrary to statements in the witness's affidavit, the involvement of CPS was not due to abuse allegations by the deceased husband. The mother explained that any removal of the children was related to her personal struggles, not her late husband's actions.
Lila lived with me straight until she was 18 months, and then the CPS case began.
Okay. So during the year 2019, Lila's primarily living with you. Did you allow Mr. Kirk any type of visitation with her during that time?
We were on good terms, and so we both spent time with her. He also spent time with her in Houston and back and forth, just because I didn't have the money for daycare.
Mhm.
So he would come in and out, and we would just kind of pass around care.
Okay. And then when was Lila enrolled in school at Larkspur Elementary?
She was enrolled in school her second semester of kindergarten after she returned home from New York.
And was that 2021?
That was 2022.
2022. Okay, I gotcha. So, sorry to backtrack, but to May 2021, Lila was living with you primarily at that time. And did you allow Stephen to take Lila to New York during that time, around that time?
So he had stated that he wanted to take her to visit family for about 2 weeks, which I said that would be fine. And it was during COVID, so they ended up staying quite a bit longer. And he said he would need to enroll her in school, which I was fine with because we were in the pandemic.
Mhm.
Shortly after, he cut off all communication, and I had no idea where she was.
Okay, so at first, due to COVID, you're like, all right, if you want her to be in school. At what point did you realize that you needed to intervene and try to go get her and bring her home?
So I had bought her an iPad to keep her location. He began shutting off that iPad. I started to see their living conditions, and then I started to get calls from family whenever his phone was off. So I sent a private investigator out to locate him.
Mhm.
And then I located him and saw that he had some very extreme drug use going on, and Lila was being completely neglected.
Okay, neglected. So you hired the PI. How did you get Lila back at that point?
So at that point, I went out to visit. Steve was extremely erratic. I'm not quite sure what he was using, but I was able to talk with him and kind of get an agreement that Lila would come back with me while he would get better. And that was an agreement with what his family was pushing, and the school in themselves that Lila was attending had been threatening.
I'm going to object to any hearsay.
Just staying.
Okay. So you went and got her. Living conditions were poor. Can you describe Lila's state when she got back, like physically, educationally, emotionally?
Yes, Lila was extremely behind all of her other classmates. She was unable to read. She couldn't write at all. She had over 12 cavities that we had to get taken care of. She was extremely emotionally traumatized. She would spend hours screaming, and me and her sisters would have to just love and hold.
Objection on hearsay.
Overruled. She didn't respond.
Sorry.
But she's going beyond the okay, go on. Let's ask the next question.
So after dealing with this incident in 2021, you get her back. How were things from then until June of 2023 when Mr. Kirk ran off with her again? How was that?
I'm sorry.
Just like how was that time? You get her back in 2021. How were things up until about June of 2023?
So it was kind of a beautiful time. Her sisters and I were all able to finally bond without Stephen Kirk in the picture. And she began to read and really start to talk about her schoolwork and how much she loved it. Her and her older sister were really able to find a connection, and my heart was whole at this point.
Okay. That's wonderful to hear. So there's been a lot of testimony, and the kind of crux of this is that there was an agreement that you were okay with Lila moving to New York indefinitely, permanently. Is that true?
That is absolutely false.
Okay. So you did allow Steve to take her last summer. Under what was your understanding of that agreement for the summer visit?
My understanding was that he was going to take her and he was going to visit with family and then bring her home.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit P29. Maybe. Your Honor, do I share my screen to do this? Sorry, I've never.
Yes, you share your screen.
Okay. 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 Do you recognize these messages, Mary?
I do.
And who are you? Who is this conversation?
Blankenship, you don't you refer to your client by her last name, please. We're not that informal in court.
Apologies. Ms. Flocka, who is this conversation with?
That's with me and Stephen.
Okay. I'm offering to admit P29.
I'm gonna object. There's no time frame established. There's no date stamps on these text messages. I don't know when they were done.
Sustained unless there's an appropriate predicate.
In 2020 to 2021, Mr. Kirk took Lila to New York for a family visit. The stay extended longer than agreed, and he blocked communication with the mother. Concerned for Lila's well-being, the mother hired a private investigator to locate her. She discovered serious issues with Lila's living conditions and extreme drug use by Mr. Kirk, prompting immediate efforts to bring her back.
I have the date stamp if we need that.
Yes, she sent me the dated ones during lunch. I wasn't able to upload them in time.
Well, she's got the objection sustained. As
They're
to
uploaded.
this exhibit, the way you're trying to get it in.
Okay, Ms. Flocka, at any point, did Stephen ask you about staying in New York with Lila permanently?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What your understanding was that he was visiting his family up there and he would bring her back. At what point did you realize that he was not coming back with the child?
So I was at home and I went to call her and I looked at her location and I hadn't talked to her in I think 2 days and her location said New York. So I immediately contacted him and his girlfriend and of course was very traumatized. Why is she in New York right now? What is happening? And then they blocked me on their phones and just decided that they would not speak to me and would not allow me to speak to Lila.
Okay. And at that point, I believe that you retained our services to represent you in this matter, correct?
After going through the police in Texas and also the police in New York, which we tried to retrieve her, I did hire, yes.
Okay. So you reached out to the police in New York. Do you remember around the first time that you did that?
Yes, so I reached out to the police in New York. I think I gave him about 3 weeks to try to see if he would actually bring her back. And once she began school in New York and I realized he was not going to bring her home, I immediately reached out to the police.
Okay. Okay, I'm showing you now what's marked as P27. Do you recognize this email, Ms. Flocka?
I do.
And can you tell me what this is?
Which one is this? Okay, so this is an email that my partner actually wrote to. He's a retired veteran. He wrote to the chief of police.
You've identified it. That's
Yes.
all she asked you. Can you identify it?
I can.
Okay, you just did.
I'd like to admit exhibit P27.
I'm gonna object. It's all hearsay.
Sustained. She just said it was written by someone else. Sustained. But furthermore, that doesn't help me on the jurisdictional fight. There are no orders about this child. We talk about objection. Kid's 6 years old. There are no orders. So
But Ms. Flockley, you tried to bring the child back. When you allowed Stephen to take her, there, as has been said, there's no court orders in place. So why was it that you, even with him have done something similar before, why was it that you allowed this summer visit to New York with him?
He had worked for the last year and a half to try to get that time with her. And I was also under the false pretense, realizing that he was not on the birth certificate, that he would not be able to just pick a child up that he had no right to and take off with her.
Right. So you essentially trusted him, even though there was no court order in place that you had to.
Yes, I was trying to do the best thing for her.
Any of the times that Mr. Kirk has taken Lila, whether it was to Houston, to his family, or to New York, any one of those times, did he ever explicitly tell you that it was his intention to ever remove Lila permanently, indefinitely, to any state other than Texas?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And have you made any preparations for Lila in your home for her hopeful return?
And that's subject to relevance.
sustained. What does that go to jurisdiction? I'm not trying the merits of this case today.
The school year of 2022 to 2023, Ms. Flocka, Lila was enrolled at Larkspur Elementary School, correct?
Correct.
What health insurance is she enrolled on?
She's had Texas Medicaid her whole life.
Okay. And has the child ever lived, besides the summer visits, weekends with Mr. Kirk, she ever known any other state as home where she goes after school?
Absolutely not.
Except for the last school year. Right?
When we were unable to
Hold
retrieve her.
on. That's a yes or no. The child's been in school in New York for the 23-24 school year. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So other than that school year, you can ask the question, but all right. Go ahead.
When the school year started in 2023, Mary, after you hired us, we filed a ex parte temporary restraining order, correct?
Correct.
And then we had an order extending that TRO just 2 weeks later.
Correct.
And we had two orders for a writ of attachment signed by Judge Iserloh, and I believe it was Judge Iserloh.
Correct.
Okay, so you tried to do something during the school year of 2023.
I did.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Lee, do you have any?
Just a few. You indicated that CPS or that Lila was only out of your care for 6 months due to CPS, but the records show that it was at least a year. Is that correct?
It was around 8 months.
It started in January of 2017, and we have records that show that in January and February of 2018, Lila was still in Mr. Kirk's custody. Do you disagree with those records?
I do, because Lila was never permanently removed for me. He removed her to Houston, and whenever he decided, he just brought her back because she was no longer part of the case.
If you reviewed the records, you would see that Lila was in daycare that entire time in Houston. Do you disagree with that?
She moved back and forth. I do disagree with the full time her being there, correct.
And you indicated that Mr. Kirk took Lila to New York in May of 2021, but in actuality, she had been living in New York since at least 2020. Isn't that correct?
Lila had a stint in New York for about 6 to 8 months. That's the only other time she's been there.
When Lila returned, she was emotionally traumatized, significantly behind her peers academically, unable to read or write, and had multiple untreated dental issues. The mother described the challenges of helping Lila catch up in school while rebuilding emotional stability and bonding with her siblings.
So we have records that we've introduced that show that Lila was in preschool from September of 2020 all the way through September of 2021, and that she was also enrolled in the Oswego School District from in the fall of 2021 all the way until she was unenrolled by you in 2022. Do you disagree with that?
I need to double check on the preschool records, but I don't 100% disagree. I don't believe she was there for a full year. This was during COVID.
And you stated that during this period of time, you were unable to locate her in this 2021-2020 period. And you ultimately found Mr. Kirk in Oswego, but you knew that that is where his mother and his family lived, and that that's where he had previously resided. Isn't that correct?
Correct. He shut off all communication. His family was there, but I had no idea where Steve lived after the first 6 months where Lila and I talked daily.
So from 2020 to 2022, you're stating you had no idea where he was and you weren't able to go get her even if you wanted to. Is that correct?
No, not from 2020 to 2022. After 6 to 7 months of him being there, that's whenever he cut communication as he was struggling with his own addiction issues.
So 6 to 7 months after he would have been there, see if they were there, and we have shot records and daycare records that show she was there in September of 2020. 6 months would have put you in March of 2021, but you didn't go up to go get Lila until May of 2022. Isn't that correct?
I had visited her once in November for the holidays. And then after all of that communication cut off, yes, I came back after I located where he was living and came to pick her up.
But for the period of 2022 until you say that he cut you off, you were fine with Lila living with him. Is that correct?
I was, because we communicated daily and it was in the middle of COVID and travel was not conducive at that time.
But you were able to go up and visit her?
In November when things settled down, yes.
You indicated that you were blocked from both Stephen and Ms. Kirk's phones, but it's accurate that you were only blocked from Ms. Kirk's phone. Isn't that correct?
Yes, Ms. Kirk refused to give me Stephen's phone number until she blocked me, so all communication had to go through her.
But you did have Stephen's phone number after that.
I did
Isn't
not.
that correct?
No, I did not. He changed his number when he moved.
And your other two children were communicating with Stephen and had his number during this time period. Isn't that correct?
That's incorrect. I've uploaded a text that Mia may be able to show, but my daughters have tried to reach out to Lila multiple times, and Stephen has told them Lila does not want to speak to them.
And you said that you had him on supervised visits for a year and a half after you returned, but a year and a half after you returned would have been the fall of 2023, not. So he was visiting Lila well before that point, isn't that correct?
During that summer of 2023, he was not allowed to come to my home nor visit her. After I saw that he was gaining weight and looked more healthy, I tried to establish a healthy relationship with them, and that was in the fall, yes.
And so that was only several months that you're claiming that you didn't allow her contact with him. Isn't that correct?
It was about 4 months, yes. She spoke with him on the phone briefly, but I needed to get her established.
And you admit that Lila has lived in New York since June 18th of 2023, is that correct? Do you admit that?
Despite every effort, correct.
And you admit that she's been attending school there?
I have no records of the school. They've told the school not to communicate with me because I'm unstable and able to.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
Do you know if she's in school there?
From what I understand.
And have you had the opportunity to speak with the attorney that's been appointed for Lila in the New York case?
I requested from Steve and Sandra their information, and I tried to also talk to the court to get her information. I was told that I cannot obtain her information, and Stephen told me that I should not be speaking to her.
But the question is, have you spoken to
No, ma'am.
Okay, not all that other stuff, just have you spoken to her?
And in one of your exhibits, it has her name included in it. So were you not able to reach out to her on your own?
I did not see that. I apologize. I don't know where that is.
The mother emphasized that she never agreed to a permanent move to New York. The summer visit was meant only for family reasons, and Lila was expected to return to Texas. Mr. Kirk misrepresented his intentions, taking her without permission and triggering legal action to protect Lila's return.
Okay. And you've attended the court hearings in New York?
I attended via phone and told them both times we have a Texas case going on. I thought no other court could have jurisdiction when Texas was going on. They've rescheduled twice.
And during those court hearings, were you able to ask the court if you could have the contact information for the attorney in that case?
No, ma'am, we didn't have time to go over that.
I'll pass.
Ms. Blankenship.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one quick thing regarding the New York case, Ms. Flocka. Why did you phone in to the court hearing? Did you get any correspondence from the New York court?
I got a voicemail stating if I did not attend, I would be held in contempt of court and they would issue orders.
Okay, thank you. That's it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anything further, Ms. Blankenship? Any other evidence?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Okay, so I think at this point, what I need to do is try to reach out to the judge. Ms. Leek, where did you send that information?
I'll send it to Ms. Chambers, and I can send it to someone else if you prefer.
I sent Ms. Chambers a message. Go ahead and send it to, and did you CC Ms. Blankenship on that?
Yes, she did.
And Mr. Lilly.
Judge, you might want to have her send it to me. I think Victoria stepped out.
Well, I just sent it to the, yeah, that's right. I forgot Ms. Chambers is gone for the afternoon because she was, so send it to my submission email address, please.
Okay.
It's 419.submission singular at traviscountytx.gov.
Sending it. I have a 1-minute delay on my email, but it should be there soon.
Okay. So I'm going to reach out and see how quickly I can set up a conference with what's the judge's name, Ms. Leek?
It's Rosario. It's Rosario, and the way the New York attorney explained it to me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I have it now.
Okay. I think it's similar to the associate judges that we have here. They have court referees.
Okay.
That hear certain matters.
Can you also, I'm going to need the cause number for the New York.
Yes.
So can you please
I'll attach everything
just attach a single pleading or the most recent order. I guess I can add a box, but it's all in one place.
I'll
Okay. You can both send me proposed orders if you want, or I'll get you a letter ruling or an order. But I can't rule until I set up a conference with the New York judge, which I will do as quickly as possible.
And then, Judge, unfortunately, I have to withdraw. And so I would like for that motion to be heard as well.
But Ms. Leak, I can't, the local rules say I can't let lawyers withdraw until there's an order from whatever hearing they participated in. So has everybody agreed to the withdrawal?
Yes, I mean, my client agrees. Yeah.
Has Ms. Blankenship signed off on the proposed order?
I have not, Your Honor. I don't.
Here's the deal, Ms. Leak. You participated in this hearing. The local rules say I can't let you off till I have an order on a hearing that you participated in. If everybody agrees, or if I'm happy to do it then, or if I need to take some testimony about it, I'm happy to take that testimony now, but I can't sign an order allowing you to withdraw till I get an order entered about the hearing we just conducted.
I understand. So if I can submit my order for withdrawal when the other order gets submitted and ask that they both be signed at the same time.
Yes, but it needs to have opposing counsel's signature on it. And Mr.
Yes.
Kirk, do you agree that Ms. Leak should be able to withdraw after whatever order I'm going to enter in this case has been
once this is wrapped up. Yeah.
Okay. And have Mr. Kirk sign it as well.
Okay.
All right. And then I'm happy to get that done one way or the yeah.
I wanted to go ahead and finish. But
Those pesky
I
local
want to leave them hanging.
Well, those pesky local rules say you can't
I know.
conduct a hearing and then ask to get off before it's all taken care of. So, all right. Well, I'll reach out as soon as I get. If you send me an email with at least
I'm
pleading, so I have to pull it in the box, and I'll try to call the judge this afternoon and see how quickly I can get hold of her.
And Your Honor, you wanted us to go ahead and send a proposed order.
If you guys both want to send a proposed order, that'd be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may be excused.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The case involved both Texas and New York courts, but the mother was unable to contact the attorney appointed for Lila in New York. The court reviewed documents, exhibits, and communications regarding the child. Additionally, the mother's attorney sought to withdraw, but the court required that all pending orders and hearings be finalized first to comply with local procedural rules.